I was recently watching a video review on DP Review with Chris Nichols where he was looking at a tripod roundup. And one of the problems that I come across with a lot of the reviews that I've watched and that you've seen on YouTube and so on is that people tend to compare tripods as if they're all the same. But in the same way that, in the way that they're actually reviewing it, it's like looking at a hiking boot, a running shoe, and a loafer, and comparing them as if they could all do the same thing. This is clearly not the case. And part of the problem is when you decide you're going to buy a tripod, you watch these reviews not realizing that a tripod is a little bit like a pair of shoes. You've got to choose the tripod not just for what the purpose it's going to be used for, but the correct size as well. And this is one of the takeaways that I came across watching the particular review, was that one of the tripods scored really highly, but the biggest concern they had with it was its height. Now, if you consider several brands, all the way from Really Right Stuff, Gitso, Manfrotto, Slick, and Leofoto, you'll find that the tripods that they have on offer all come with various different heights. You don't just choose the specifications and the features of the tripod, you also look to see the kind of height that you're going to be using. So behind me I have 3 tripods from Leofoto that are all essentially the same in terms of their features, but they come in very different sizes. Not so much the leg tube diameter, but rather the height that you're going to select. And each of these sizes comes with pros and cons. So we're going to look at these now. As a full disclosure, I am a Leofoto rep and ambassador in South Africa. So yes, I do come from a slightly biased point of view. But what I have to say here is applicable to just about any brand of tripod. It's all about choosing the right height and the right features so that it best fits your purpose of photography. Now, Leofoto South Africa have recognized that there is this issue when we start talking about what tripod to select. So to try and make the decision simpler for photographers out there, rather than pricing each of the heights at a different price range, they've decided to go ahead and market a particular kit all at the same price, which is 7,499 Rand, including VAT. Now, all 3 of the kits that are available are essentially part of what you would call the 32mm range. So what this refers to is that the top leg section has a diameter of 32mm. That's a fairly thick leg tube itself. All 3 tripods also come with the same excellent LH-40 ball head. So you're getting the same features essentially at the top of the tripod, and all you now need to decide is what you need in terms of length and packability as well as weight of the legs themselves. So first up, I've got the very popular Leofoto LS-325C carbon fiber legs. Like all the other ones, it has a 32mm diameter top leg section, and as you can see at full height it reaches 1,440 millimeters, or 1.4 meters basically. My height is 1.81 meters. So basically you can see that at my full height, and I'm relatively tall, I can still stand and not have to stoop to see through the camera. With the added height of the actual ball head, you'll notice that this is considered a full-size tripod. The tripod itself is very popular, partly because of its packed down size. Now if I could press or bring the tripod to its smallest packable size, you'll notice that now we suddenly get down to a extended length or shortened length of 460 millimeters. So it's less than a 50 centimeter length. It's 50 centimeters if you include the actual ball head itself. This is very, very packable too. But if you're going to be using very heavy lenses, or you're wanting to use something like an old large format camera, this is not necessarily the perfect fit. So you'll actually see that in Leofoto's own product literature. They'll talk about this particular tripod as having a 12 kilogram payload. So 12 kilogram payload, but it packs the smallest of all 3 of the 32 series tripods. So you choose it because you want something that is extremely portable, but still gets you a height that you can use fully extended as a relatively tall photographer. Okay, so let's move through to the LS-324C now. So this is a slightly smaller or lower tripod than the 325 that we've just looked at, but a result of it only having 4 leg sections now means that the tripod itself is going to be somewhat more stable, and again the actual specifications on the tripod allow it a payload of 15 kilograms. So now if you're thinking of using this with, or thinking of using the tripod for a large telephoto lens for wildlife photography, something like a 600mm f4 or a 400 2.8, they're relatively heavy lenses. So those would match better with a tripod like this that has fewer sections. The downside to the fewer sections, of course, is that it doesn't reach quite the same working height that the 325 had. And the other thing you'll notice is it is marginally less packable. When I say marginally less packable, this one is 485mm in packable length compared to the LS-325, which was 460. So you're looking at a marginal difference over there. But it's this last leg section which is now the same thickness as the second last leg section on the L325C. And that's where the extra stability comes in when you're using the 324. Okay, so you want height. You can have it in the form of the LS-323C. Now this is a 3-section tripod. Same top dimensions on the top section, so 32mm. Same shoulder and apex of the tripod as all the other two, but now you get an additional 10 centimeters of height out of your tripod. So this one actually reaches a full 1.52 meters high. The downside, if you're going to consider it a downside, is that because it only has 3 sections, it suddenly isn't exactly the most packable of tripods. And in fact, when it is fully collapsed, this comes to a rather lengthy 650 millimeters in length. So it's quite tall. If you hold it like this, you can see it's all the way from my thigh through to my shoulder when you've got the LH40 combined at the top. So the massive advantage to this particular tripod though is its stability. With only 3 leg sections, it means that it has the least potential flex out of any of the tripods that are available there. You'll also find that because of that extra working height, this is fantastic for if you're going to be doing studio photography or if you're working in the kind of environment where you want one leg to actually go lower below you. So for instance, if you're shooting in somewhere like Keetmanshoek, the quiver tree forests or the Giant's Playground, you'll often find or have situations where you're standing on a rock. You want your tripod to be a certain height, but the only place to put your tripod leg is a rock below you. Tripod like this, that is less of a problem. Now, because it has only 3 sections and is so stable as a result of that, this one's payload is a full 20 kilograms. That's a lot for a tripod of this weight. The other added advantage of the stability is that the sport shooting community, so target shooting for instance, they have flocked to this particular tripod because it is so stable. So you'll find that the lack of flex in a tripod like this means that you've actually got more usage for larger rigs, as well as if you're going to be shooting in studio. Okay, so let's take a quick look at packing now. Obviously, if you're going to be out photographing, doing landscapes or wildlife or anything that you're actually going to be moving away from your vehicle, you're going to be wanting to carry your tripod somewhere. Now, over here I've got the Tiliper, the f-stop Tiliper bag, which is probably f-stop's best-selling bag. Certainly the bags we sell here in South Africa, this one seems to fly off the shelves faster than any of the other f-stop bags. It's a really versatile bag, but it is still quite large. Small enough to fit inside an overhead bin inside an airliner, but large enough to carry a full complement of equipment. Now, how do the tripods themselves stack up against it? If I take something like the LS-325C, you'll see that it fits really neatly onto the side of the Tiliper, to the point that you actually almost don't even get the ball head extending beyond the top of the bag itself. So cinched in, there you go. You can see that the bag itself fits really well. We don't have any issues. It fits really easily. Okay, so there's the advantage of having a nice small compact tripod when it is closed in, like so. So the complication is going to come into the fact if you want the 323. This is a long tripod, even when compressed. So as a result, when you stick it onto the side of your backpack, although it is still manageable, you are going to have a situation where the height of the tripod is going to be somewhat higher than the top of your backpack. So if I were to put that on, you'll see it is still very much carryable, and you can still haul it, but you are going to end up with a tripod that extends almost above your head. So you do need to be aware of that if you are going to be doing some walking in the mountains or through a forest. There's a good chance it's going to catch a branch or something. Whereas the smaller tripods like the 324 and the 325, you don't have that problem anymore. Okay, so still on the topic of transporting your gear, you don't always necessarily want to have the tripod strapped to the side of a bag when you're walking out in the woods or on a mountain or something. There's a good chance that if you're not carrying your tripod with you, you probably have it stowed in check-in baggage on a plane. Now this is a Osprey Rolling Transporter 90. It's my bag of choice at the moment for when I'm traveling overseas, running workshops or traveling for client work. And I specifically bought it because it's nice and large, so it'll take most tripods. There is still always that problem that is the tripod too large. Now I quite like saying that if your tripod is too large, get a bigger bag. So it isn't always the case though. So let's take a look at how the tripods fit inside the bag with all of your stuff when you're going to be checking it in at the airline. So if I open up, obviously you're going to have your usual stuff inside. So do the tripods fit? Clearly, it's going to fit really easily if you just put in the 324C tripod, and there is no problem in terms of getting it in or out. I don't have to remove the head. It fits really neatly. Similarly, the 325 goes in very simply, nice and easily. You don't have any issues with trying to cram it inside there. You don't need to take the head off. But the problem comes with the 323. Suddenly, you can potentially get it inside there at an angle. So it will go in, but not ideally. So one of the ways to get around this, obviously, is you can always remove the head. Grab your head, take it off like so, and now suddenly your tripod fits a lot more easily, so you don't need to worry about it. Looking at the three tripods in totality over here, you'll notice that the 324C and the 325C are much of a muchness when it comes around to packed length. The 323C is significantly longer and harder to pack, but has the advantage of a greater working height with the best stability of the three tripods here. The 325C is much of a generalist tripod. It'll give the maximum user working height of 190 centimeters, the same as the 323C, while being more packable. The downside to that, of course, is that it only has a payload of 12 kilograms compared to the 20 kilograms of the 323C. The 324C is the in-betweener. It gives a fantastic payload rating of 15 kilograms, is tiny when it is packed away, is the lightest of all three tripods, but has a maximum working height of only 175 centimeters, or at least the user length. At the end of the day, all of the Leofoto Ranger tripods have the same design features around them. They all have the compact nature design that lacks the center column. An optional center column is included with some of the models, and you can always buy an optional center column which screws on between the head and the legs themselves if you need that extra height. The design itself is there for a reason. The lack of a center column means that the tripod is more packable, lighter weight, and is more stable. So ultimately, this is a better design when it comes around to tripods for landscape and travel usage. The other thing to bear in mind is that although I've only spoken about the 32 series tripods, if you need more stability or lighter weight, there is still the 36 and 40 series tripods, which have larger dimension legs, or the 28 and 25 series tripods, which are lighter weight, smaller dimension legs, but are much more packable if you're wanting to do more further afield, far-flung landscape photography. Whatever your needs are, there is always a tripod available for that particular need. Bear in mind that You shouldn't choose your tripod based on what some internet pundit pushes as the best features to have. What you should choose your tripod for is the right fit for the kind of photography that you're doing, as well as your own build and height, so that it is easier to work with. Ultimately, at the end of the day, you choose your tripod like a pair of trousers. They have to fit you to be able to work. If you found this video interesting, you can give it a like and subscribe on the links below. And if you'd like to know more about these tripods, you can always take a look at the website, natureslight.co.za, or if you're in the Durban area, come around to the studio and view one in person. Thanks very much for watching. Cheers.